Stunt Paradise is basically what happens when you mix crazy driving with pure action movie stunts. Honestly, I was not expecting much at first, but it actually gets super addictive really fast. You are just driving these weird and cool cars off massive ramps and doing crazy flips in the air. It feels really good when you perfectly land a jump after smashing through explosive obstacles. The graphics are very stylish and it gives off this chill yet totally extreme vibe. There are about 50 different crazy levels to play through, so you will not get bored quickly. Plus you get to drive through completely different places like industrial cities and dusty deserts. It is one of those games you can casually play for 5 minutes or get stuck on for an hour. It runs really smoothly even on older phones, which is always a huge plus for these kinds of games. If you just want to turn off your brain and drive off a massive cliff, then this is definitely it. The physics feel floaty in a fun way, so every crash just looks absolutely hilarious. Moto Racing takes that classic Minecraft art style and throws it onto a high-speed highway. At first glance it looks like a simple kid's game, but the actual driving physics are surprisingly fun. You basically weave through heavy traffic trying not to completely destroy your motorcycle. The best part is honestly the demolition mode, where you just try to smash into as many cars as possible. Every time you crash, the physics go crazy and your rider just flies across the screen. They even added a first-person camera view, which makes dipping between cars feel way more intense. You can unlock different bikes like a fast speeder or even a police motorcycle with flashing lights. It has this really nostalgic arcade feel where you are just trying to beat your own high score. The non-player characters driving the cars will randomly change lanes without looking, so it keeps you awake. If you want to just relax, there is a city mode where you can free roam without worrying about timers. It is the perfect game to kill time while waiting for a bus or standing in line somewhere. Extreme SUV Driving Simulator feels like you are given the keys to a tank and told to go crazy. It is a pure off-road sandbox where you do not have to worry about traffic rules or the police. You just pick a massive 4x4 and start climbing impossible hills or burning rubber on the asphalt. The car damage is actually pretty realistic, so if you smash into a wall, your ride is going to show it. It gives you full control with a real heads-up display showing your gear's revs and speed. You can even turn off the traction control and anti-lock brakes if you want to drift around corners. Exploring the open-world environment is really chill because there are no strict timers rushing you. There are different game modes like checkpoints and free roam depending on what mood you are in. I love how you can just drive up the side of a mountain and watch the suspension work in real time. It has been around for a while, but it still holds up really well for a mobile driving game. Sometimes you just need a game where you can cause chaos in a Jeep without any real consequences. Jurassic Clash Primal Dino Sim puts you right in the middle of a massive prehistoric battle zone. It is basically a survival simulator where you get to control a bunch of different ferocious dinosaurs. 1 second you are stomping around as a massive T-Rex and the next you are flying through the sky. The combat actually feels meaty and intense when you are fighting off other dinosaurs for survival. There is a huge roster of beasts to choose from, like velociraptors, triceratops, and even flying reptiles. The environments look incredible with lush jungles, volcanic craters, and rocky canyons to explore. It feels like you are playing your very own Jurassic movie where everything is constantly trying to eat you. The animations for the dinosaurs walking and attacking are surprisingly smooth for a mobile game. You have to actually use strategy in combat instead of just button mashing if you want to stay alive. Fighting a gigantic Brachiosaurus while playing as a tiny raptor pack is pure chaotic fun. It also supports offline play. Savage Survival Jurassic Isle feels like a weird mix of a strategy game and a caveman survival simulator. You start off with basically nothing and have to build up a Stone Age tribe while avoid getting eaten. It is not just about gathering wood and stone, because there are literal giant prehistoric creatures roaming around. You can actually tame these dinosaurs and use them to defend your base, which is the coolest part. The world map is huge and you can explore it to find ancient relics and hidden treasures. It has this base building mechanic where you slowly turn a tiny camp into a massive protected sanctuary. You train different troops like barbarians, archers, and even dinosaur riders to fight your battles. The graphics look really sharp and vibrant, so the prehistoric jungles actually feel alive and dangerous. Sometimes the progression feels a bit slow, but unlocking a brand new behemoth makes the grind worth it. There are a lot of upgrades to manage, so it keeps your brain busy figuring out what to build next. If you like games where you watch your tiny settlement grow into an empire, this one is great. Death Worm is one of those classic mobile games that never really loses its charm no matter how old it gets. You literally play as a gigantic mutant worm that just swallows everything in its path without mercy. You burrow underground and then launch yourself into the air to eat people, cars, and even helicopters. It is pure mindless destruction, and it is honestly one of the best ways to relieve stress after a long day. As you play, you get to upgrade your worm to make it faster, bigger, and way more dangerous. There are different locations like cities, jungles, and hot deserts, which keeps the backgrounds looking fresh. The explosions are huge, and watching a tank go flying because you erupted from the dirt is so satisfying. It is super easy to control with just one finger, so you can play it literally anywhere. The survival mode is great because you just keep eating and destroying until the military finally takes you down. The game has been around forever, but the devs keep adding new worms with crazy abilities. Sometimes you just do not want a deep story and you just want to be a giant monster eating the world. ScarFall 2.0 is actually a massive surprise if you are burnt out on the usual battle royale games. It was made in India and it features battlegrounds based on real locations like Mumbai and Goa. The gameplay is very fast-paced and feels super responsive, which is essential for a multiplayer shooter. I love that in the classic map you actually get 3 respawn chances, so dying early is not the end. The weapon gunplay feels solid with decent recoil and impact sounds that make the fights intense. There is a hardcore survival mode in a city map where you can literally ride moving trains to reposition. They also included team deathmatch modes if you just want quick close-quarters gunfights without the looting. It is surprisingly well optimized, so it runs smoothly and gives you high frame rates even on budget phones. Driving around in local Indian vehicles like rickshaws and jeeps adds a really unique flavor to the game. The ranked matches are very competitive, so there is always a reason to keep pushing for better gear. Glory Age of Samurais feels like a beautiful cinematic movie where you get to chop people with a katana. It is a tactical fighting game set in medieval Japan, and it completely focuses on timing and strategy. The enemies are actually smart, so they will try to surround you and block your strikes instead of just standing there. You have to carefully watch their movements, dodge at the right moment, and strike when they are vulnerable. The animations are incredibly smooth, so every sword swing and execution looks absolutely brutal and cool. You can unlock different characters like an old warrior or a ronin, which keeps the gameplay feeling fresh. There is a huge arsenal of Japanese weapons to find, so you are always upgrading your damage. The backgrounds are stunning with weather effects like rain and snow that make the battles feel very epic. It offers a massive story mode with 100 levels plus an endless mode if you just want to survive. Fighting multiple enemies at once gets super stressful, but it feels amazing when you finally clear the room. It is a completely offline experience, so it is perfect for commuting. Jackal Squad is pure 80s nostalgia packed into a modern mobile shooter that you cannot put down. It brings back that classic top-down run and gun vibe, but with controls that actually work great on touch screens. You drive a pixelated military jeep into enemy territory trying to rescue hostages and blow up bases. The game has an auto-aim mechanic which sounds too easy, but it actually lets you focus entirely on dodging bullets. When the screen fills up with explosions, enemies, and lasers, it turns into a pure bullet hell survival situation. Upgrading your Jeep with better weapons and armor is super addictive and makes you feel unstoppable later on. The retro graphics are really well done, and the arcade sound effects completely fit the old school theme. There are over 100 levels to beat, so it will definitely keep you busy for a long time. You can play it completely offline, which makes it the perfect game to kill time when you have no service. The boss fights at the end of the zones get really insane and require some serious reflexes to beat. Castle Busters is a real-time multiplayer game that literally lets you destroy everything on the screen. It is a one-on-one strategy brawler where your main goal is to reduce the enemy castle to rubble. You get to draft a squad of 8 units like Mags Archers and Siege Engines to deal massive damage. Every single brick and wall in the game has physics, so you can actually collapse buildings on top of troops. The matches are really fast and only take a few minutes, which is perfect for quick gaming sessions. It is not just about attacking though, because you have to build and fortify your own keep with traps and walls. Watching an enemy try to break through your reinforced defenses only to fall into a decoy is hilarious. As you climb the ranked ladder, the strategies get way deeper and the players get much more aggressive. The fact that the battlefield changes every time based on what gets destroyed makes every match feel unique. It does not rely on bot waves or boring timers, it is just straight up PvP action from start to finish. Big Time Sports is honestly the perfect example of a game that respects your time but still hooks you completely. It basically brings back that classic arcade track and field feeling where you just drop in for a quick event. At first, I thought it would get repetitive, but they actually packed in 13 different bite-sized sports to play. 1 minute you are doing a high dive and the next you are grinding for a personal best in a ski slalom. The rounds literally last like 20 to 60 seconds, so it is the ultimate game to play when you are bored in line. What I really appreciate is how simple the tap and swipe controls are because they just feel incredibly responsive. It has this really smart difficulty curve where beginners can have fun but experts can really master the timing. When you barely miss a medal, the game immediately throws you back in, so you end up in this endless loop of one more try. The visuals are super clean and the punchy audio effects make crossing the finish line feel genuinely rewarding. It completely strips away all the annoying menus and long load times that usually ruin mobile sports games. The land of Boggs Decor Dash looks like just another endless runner, but it surprisingly has a lot more going on. You are basically sprinting through crowded city streets and mystical forests trying to collect as many coins as possible. The whole point is to gather resources so you can completely make over Boggo's house and chill out in a stress-free space. It feels really fast-paced because you are constantly dodging traffic roadwork and weird slime pits along the way. Every now and then a thief pops up and you have to chase him down to get your stolen coins back, which adds a nice twist. The power UPS are actually pretty fun to use, especially the flying capes and coin vacuums that let you clear the screen. As you play more, you start finding puzzle pieces to build new items like skateboards, which keeps the grind interesting. The decorating aspect is honestly what makes you want to keep playing because there are so many furniture and paint options. Mixing and matching different styles to create the ultimate hangout spot gives the game a super relaxing payoff after a crazy run. Robbery Madness 2 feels like playing a completely chaotic stealth heist movie where anything can go wrong. It is a first-person sneaking game where you play as a thief trying to steal every piece of shiny loot you can find. You start off breaking into regular houses, but eventually you are sneaking through massive malls and high-security museums. The stealth mechanics are actually pretty deep for a mobile game with things like snake cams and hackable security systems. If you mess up and trigger an alarm, you either have to hide in a toilet or take down the guards with a sneak attack. But the craziest part is that there is literally a zombie apocalypse mode hidden in the game. 1 second you are quietly picking locks in a museum, and the next you are blowing up zombies in a ruined mall with frag grenades. The game has a black market where you can spend your hard-earned cash on stun mines and better lockpicks, which feels super rewarding. There are multiple difficulty levels, so if you want a real challenge, the Madness mode will absolutely punish every mistake you make. The low-poly cartoon graphics give it this really charming look. Ragkour is easily one of the most refreshing mobile parkour games because it completely ditches the hold to jump script. It gives you total control over your movement, so your speed, momentum, and timing actually matter for every single jump. The game is 100% physics-based, meaning there are no invisible rails saving you if you mess up a wall run. 1 minute you are nailing the perfect freestyle line across a rooftop and the next you are eating concrete. The active ragdoll system makes every single crash look absolutely hilarious and brutal at the same time. It genuinely feels like you are playing a hardcore PC free-running game but compressed into your smartphone. You can combine flip spins and vaults to build up your flow, and it feels incredibly satisfying when you finally get it right. The open urban environments are designed perfectly for you to just explore and find your own creative paths. It is definitely not a game that plays itself, so be prepared to struggle a bit while you learn the mechanics. Once it clicks though, vaulting over alleys and landing massive drops feels way more rewarding. DEDA is a horror escape game that actually tries to do something completely different with its mechanics. Instead of just mindlessly tapping on objects, you actually have to use both hands to interact with the environment. This makes the whole puzzle-solving process feel way more dynamic and almost like a tense stealth game. The atmosphere in this game is incredibly heavy, and it changes drastically depending on what difficulty you choose. On normal mode, the shadows just seem a little off, but on high difficulty, the entire house becomes terrifying and hostile. Even the light from your own lantern can betray you and become dangerous, which is a really creepy touch. The story does not spoon-feed you anything, so you have to piece together the family secrets by exploring small details. It constantly keeps you on edge because you never really know what is hiding in the next hallway. The sense of madness slowly creeping in as the walls literally seem to press down on you is very well executed. If you love building theories and digging through subtle clues, then the lore in this game will definitely hook you.